if it's bull or bear, I don't care. It's quite a rough ride, just like life. But I'm kind of patient, cause only time will tell. It's gonna go up, so you better stay calm. And grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins. Grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. When you're passionate about what you do, you'll find your own way and keep it real. This is so exciting. There's so much going on, but it's gonna take time, so you better stay calm. And grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins. Grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins. Grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins. Grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins. Grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome. I am the Crypto Crow. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. A-OK. I'm using a different system. Obviously, I'm using something I haven't used before, and I don't have a lot of my same audio settings and things. I feel like there's a lot of pickup. There's a lot of extra going on. Audio's okay, it seems. RF, thank you. I figure worst case scenario, I don't know what's happened with Charles. I've texted him. I've messaged him. Nothing's being seen. I don't know if he got hit by a bison on his farm or what. I'm assuming he might just show up a little late, and if he does, that's okay. I figure I would just go live and do some personal Q&A with everybody in the meantime, and we'll just kind of see what plays out. If he joins us, he's got the link. He'll just pop right into chat, and there we go, and we can commence with the festivities. I know it's been a long time. Obviously, I think it's been well over a year since I've had Charles on the channel. It might even have been longer. So it's really weird with these headphones. I guess technically I don't need them. I don't really need these unless Charles comes on. So I guess I can just talk to you guys. I also don't have audio levels in this platform, so I can't see how loud I am. What about realizing this Crow Your Coins music with I can't even read that. Cicicity? Let's take a look. What about realizing your Crow Your Coins music with @Six City Music NFT? I would totally launch the Crow Your Coin song with as an NFT. I actually probably should. I'm just not sure where to do that or what to do. So maybe I'll take a look at that. Sound is good, dude. Don't worry. All right, good. Sounds good. All right. Are you coping? How are you coping in this bear market? Seems like you're more active this bear market than the last. It's funny because the last bear market, I was very active, but I was also dealing with a lot of stuff. It wasn't until the bull market really peaked up that I kind of started to take a break. And that's really when you grow. That's why my channel has been kind of stuck. I feel like the bear market is where my job, my kind of insight, my opinions, my commentary, I feel like the bear market is where I'm needed most. In the bull market, everybody's done their job. You know what I mean? Everybody's in the market doing their thing. And so I don't feel like I'm as needed. But I also miss out on the growth of a lot of that. So this time I'm going to be going all the way through to the peak, and I'm going to keep everybody you know, in the loop of what I'm doing. Keep in mind too, I was in Puerto Rico the day of the peak of the market. I was getting on a plane to Puerto Rico, and still selling my property there. For those of you interested, I should pull that up. I think I linked it. Maybe I'll pull this up real quick and show you guys. If you're looking for a property in Puerto Rico, let's see, how do I share screen? And maybe it's on my Twitter. Is that it? No, I don't know. Like, Charles still hasn't even seen my link, so I'm not sure what's going on. Let's see, window. There we go. That work. Yeah, so this is I think I like it better this way. But that's the property in Puerto Rico. I posted up on Twitter. So if you're interested in moving to Puerto Rico, I have a property there. I'm selling really pretty cheap, honestly. I think I'm asking 650. Not going to go any lower than that though. I started it at 850, but I just priced it to try and sell. And we've had like 6 or 7 different investors look at the property in the last week, and in the process of potentially working out a deal. I'll accept Bitcoin or Cardano, especially in this bear market. If you're wanting to get out and put it in real estate instead, well, there's an opportunity for you. Yeah, I figure let's just do some Q&A, you know, because you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. I've got a big announcement coming probably in the next few weeks regarding the Crow tokens. I will say that I'm working something out with someone. I'm gonna have to change the whole title of this video and everything. I even emailed his group, and they haven't responded. I don't know what's going on. Looks like it might just be you and me, folks. So we'll just turn this into a bit of a Q&A and just kind of have some fun with it for what it is. It's a Saturday, and yeah, you know, let's go ahead and start taking some of these questions in the comments for me, because Charles isn't making it, I don't think, because it's already 3:15, and yeah, I don't know what to do. I feel bad. I'm not sure what happened. Hey, Crow, I keep DCA into ADA. My average price now is $1.15. I'm starting to lose faith in it. Starting to lose faith? Why do you feel that way? I feel like everything is quite bullish in a lot of regard. Here's something for you guys to take into consideration here. All right. I don't know why these questions are blowing up so huge on the screen. So, all right. So let's take a look at the situation. Maybe we can put some things into perspective. All right. We're going to go back. I'm going to go ahead and open up this chart here. All right. So if we're going into Cardano's price, we're basically trending sideways right now. Okay. And that's fine. We've come down substantially since the peak of $3.14. But here's what you guys have to understand. Cardano, this is against Bitcoin. All right, we don't want that. Let's take a look at ADA USD, because that'll help put things into better perspective here. All right, so here's Cardano against United States dollar, and obviously we're still trading sideways. All right, so that's okay. Now, if we want to put things into perspective for a lot of you guys that are out there, and this is on Coinbase. I don't want Coinbase. Give me maybe Binance. Gives me some real history here. Here we go. All right, so this back here, March of 2020. Cardano's price was basically around 2 cents. Sorry. So March of 2020, Cardano's price was 2 cents. In 1 year, Cardano's price came all the way up here to $3. So while you guys are out there ho-humming about Cardano sitting at around 36, 35 cents, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's taken forever. The bulk of the profitability of crypto in general, not just Cardano, but just about anything, is going to be in the last year. We're going to have our halving. The halving is going to be in 2024. From that point, from the halving to the peak, it's going to take about a year. We're going to peak out, and it's going to be insane. All right. That's just my opinion based off of things that I've seen. Like, this is like my 3rd cycle now. All right. And I see some of you guys, you're like, I'm losing faith. It's taking too long. Let me tell you something. Chances are good you have nowhere near as much Cardano as I do, and I started averaging in at 50 cents. All right. And I am not sweating it. I'm not worried about any of this because I've seen it all so many times. And so when I look at Cardano's price and I look at the market, I look at what's happening, there is so much more going on in Cardano right now than there ever has been in any previous market. We have a TVL that's growing. Okay, the total value locked is consistently growing, and there's some ebb and flow right now, along with the price of the token in the markets, and that's okay. But let's just say we get to a Bitcoin halving, and I'm looking at my chart right now because for whatever reason my main charts are not loaded, and I'm not quite sure why. But I don't really know what to say other than that so many of you are worried about like a lack of price action. This is not about price action right now. The bear market is not about price. The bear market is about growth, milestone, adoption, new addresses, TVL growing, new use cases being introduced to the ecosystem. These are the things that matter in a bear market because it's a culmination of all of these things that develop over time in a bear market that send the bull market to the next levels of the moon, maybe even to Mars. Okay. And the thing of it is so many of us focus on the price. The price in so many ways in a market cycle is what dictates interest from newcomers. But those who have been around since inception or very early in a project's development cycle, we know what things mean as they're happening. Newcomers come into the space. A lot of them buy at the height of a market because that's when all the FOMO's going. That's when everybody's booming. You know, people are talking crazy predictions about what they think could happen based off of the momentum of the price, you know, recently over the past month, 2 months, 3 months, etc. And that's insane. Like so many of us that have been around a while understand that you know, we're not worried. That's really all there is to it. There is more going on with Cardano today than there ever has been in the history of its inception, really, since its inception. And so when you take all of these metrics, all these milestones, the roadmap development, Hydra is now launched. It's now live on Cardano. You see all these things. I would just relax. But at the same time, if you don't feel confident, you could do one of two things if you don't feel confident about what's going on in the market. You can start doing some real historical research in terms of price action of Cardano against where it was in its development. All right, that should definitely make you feel better, if nothing else. And you know, maybe focus more on the fundamentals of the project instead of worrying right now so much about the price, and try to average your price down as best you can. It sounds like you're doing a good job. You've averaged down to $1.15. You probably bought somewhere around $2, I'm guessing. So yeah, I wouldn't worry so much. Tell 2pen C, the Korean Wang's still swinging since we hit Coinbase. Thank you for Cardano. Oh, okay. Cool. Thanks for the tip there. That's cool. Crow, you know, you were mentioned on Bitboy Ben new book as one of 2 crypto YouTubers he could rely on in early years. He has a new book. Wait a minute. Crow, you were mentioned on Bitboy Ben's new book as one of 2 crypto he could rely on in early years. Are you talking about, hold on a minute. Where is it? Well, I don't know what I did with it. Are you talking about Bitboy, not Batboy, Bitboy's new book? I know I'm on the back page, like the back cover of it as well. But yeah, that's really cool. I mean, listen, you know, I know a lot of people love to hate on Bitboy or Ben, but and he definitely has been getting like crazy heated, and I will say that I feel that Ben has become like so many of us have an addictive personality, right? And I believe Ben obviously admittedly has an addictive personality, and he's conquered so many of those battles over his life. And and then I think his addiction transferred to his work ethic, right? His desire to grow and educate and like the challenges of the crypto market, cornering the crypto market and building his staff and things. And now to some degree, I feel like he's addicted to the rush associated with like exposing the corruption of XYZ. You know what I mean? And it's like, I get that. I understand it. I feel like he's doing a heck of a job. His video about Elizabeth Warren recently I was like, how do you even get this information? Like, where are you finding this stuff? Yeah, I mean, back in the day, man, when there was a time I was much bigger than Bitboy, and I treat everyone equally, man. I don't care how rich someone is. I don't care how poor someone is. I don't care what your status is in the world. I don't care how many social media follow. I treat everyone the same because we're all human beings. And I've always respected Ben and Bitboy, and I really just rather call him Ben from now on. But I feel like a lot of people get things cute, like Ben Cowan. There's so many Bens. So yeah, I appreciate that. That's really cool. It's cool to know. Crow, that's the same question. All right, let's see what Crow. I keep DCA. All right, I covered that already. We gonna see a $10 million mansion? My house in Puerto Rico is not a $10 million mansion. Right now it's priced at 650 grand. So it is definitely, it's 8,500 square feet with like 7 bathrooms. So it is huge, but it needs the bathrooms. I haven't been able to finish remodeling the bathrooms, and I'm just tired of it. How's the internet and PR? The internet was great. I mean, honestly, when we first moved to Florida, I had crappy 25 megabyte internet. And in Puerto Rico, I had 500 gigs or something, 500 megs or whatever. Internet in Puerto Rico is fine. Do you think Bitboy is still sane? Sometimes he seems a bit overhyped. I had to unfollow both his YouTube and Twitter because he just went on spam rants once a day. Like I said, man, I think he's been on a real roll lately. And I do worry about him a little bit because, that stuff can be very consuming. Especially when your content really starts to drive towards, there's a variety of different content, right? I feel like anytime I go to Ben's channel, Bitboy, all the Bit Squad, all that, they've got so much content all the time. But I think he has made it kind of a personal passion to go after. Here's what I think is happening. I think so many people go after Ben, like haters, whether they're other YouTubers trying to build a following off of his back, just so they can keep mentioning him in their channels. People that can, and I hate people that do that. I despise that effort. Like if it were legitimate, that's one thing. Like CoffeeZilla and man, I just saw a recent video of CoffeeZilla. I'm like, dude, you've gone another level. Like this guy, he's making more money. He's becoming more prominent. Everybody knows who he is. He's so good at what he does. Sometimes, especially early on, I would see stuff and I'm like, oh, that's a bold accusation. Like you shouldn't. But I feel like he's just done a really good job of it. And I think that Ben is trying to be on that level as well. I feel like rather than, and I feel like the more people that go after him or come for him, calling him names, assuming this or assuming that, I feel like he's going more the other way, where he's trying to prove to the public, no, listen, I'm here fighting for you. You know what I mean? And I think he's really working hard on trying to prove that. But in that, sometimes I see him get real heated and I understand it because it's really easy to get frustrated in the crypto space. And there's a lot of ignorance all over. And there are a lot of people that think they know something they don't. There's a lot of people that love to assume and they'll do accuse and they just love to point the finger. And I think that's his way of trying to fight a lot of that. So yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. America is your home. Don't leave again. Puerto Rico is part of America, just so you know. It's U.S. territory. And if anything, I feel like the people of Puerto Rico have done more for the United States than a lot of people in the United States. Generations of Puerto Ricans have been fighting for the United States in wars for a long, long time. So, and it's a part of why I get really frustrated about how it seems like Puerto Rico really seems to get overlooked a great deal when it comes to government funding and money. And the politicians there are scrubs, man. I mean, the politicians there love to rob the coffers and leave the people struggling, and it is a struggle. I mean, I was just scammed from a contractor who was supposed to redo all my bathrooms in my property, and he has a whole world of hell coming for him. He just doesn't realize it yet. I've got so much information on this guy. I know where he plans to flee to Dominican Republic. I know like, this guy, I mean, he just flat out ripped me off. And it's a very common thing in Puerto Rico. A lot of these contractors are con men. And I'm such a trusting guy because I'm not wired like a criminal. Like I don't expect to be ripped off, but it's a challenge. And like to some degree, it's because it's kind of how you have to be in some regard. You don't have to, nobody has to, but I understand the struggle to some degree, and everybody's trying to hustle and bustle and like rise up. And unfortunately, I was a victim of somebody's more dishonest efforts to rise up. And he's I mean, he doesn't know it yet, but he's probably going to prison. I mean, he's got a record too. His own family has reached out to me and like, hey man, you probably haven't seen this yet. And I'm like I'm like, this dude is a bad dude, man. He looks real handsome, clean cut, all that, but he's a criminal. And I don't know, people just, and I've given him so many opportunities to make good, so many opportunities to avoid his potential future. He's just, I don't know, some people are just stupid. Like they just think that, oh, he's just some rich gringo in America. He's not even here. He's not going to do nothing. He's not going to care. It's not that much money, but it becomes an issue of like principle to me. Like you don't rip people off, and you don't just walk away from ripping people off. Like when you're intentionally staging something to just royally take somebody's money and run, yeah, it's not going to work out for them, but it is what it is. Very nice property, mucho dinero canal. It's not though. It's not that much. I mean, I put money into it. I put a lot of money. I'm losing money selling this house at 650 grand. Let's put it that way. I'm legitimately losing money, but a lot of lessons learned. We spent 6 months with a whole new culture of people. We made a lot of cool friends there. I mean, it wasn't all for nothing, but I've just learned, man, pay your taxes. Don't even, it wasn't just the tax benefits of moving to Puerto Rico. It's not the only reason we moved there. We really just wanted to get away and see something new, be a part of a new culture, learn a lot. And we learned a lot. It wasn't all good, but thank you for the Crow coins. Have you been watching the price action? No, not really. I mean, it's all silly. I've got some big stuff coming for the Crow token. So yeah, I mean, I feel like there are a lot of people playing around and doing different things with dexes and such, but sound is good on YouTube, but no sound for me on Facebook on a mobile phone. Interesting. I don't know. I mean, it's all the same. So maybe I'm muted on your phone. You just push those little buttons on the side. I don't know. Howdy, Jason. What's it up? Court Welty. Charles rugged this interview. Yeah, he kind of did. I mean, he says all the time, like, I want to go live. Let's do an interview. And he's like, and then it's stuff like this. I don't understand. I mean, emergencies come about, but nobody has said a word. And let me take a quick look at something real quick, because there's a chance that there's like a time zone issue, but I'm pretty positive I got the time zones right. I mean, he knows I'm Eastern. So he is in, is it Mountain? Wait a minute. Let me see here. I was able to add this to the calendar. Okay. I'll send him a link. And oh, wait. I'm not sure what happened, unless, because I got the notification and everything, saying, hey, Saturday, June 3rd, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what happened. It sucks. I'm sorry. But there's 439 of you here, so I don't want to waste your time. And I would figure, it's Saturday. And if you're here, I mean, maybe you'll learn something. Does Charles know he was invited? Yes, and he told me to book it with his booking people, so that it was put in his calendar, which it was. We were both invited to it. I said yes. It went to everybody. I even texted Charles. I have his phone number. I don't bug him ever. I don't ever really text him. I saw it. I'm like, I've only ever texted him one time. It was like almost 2 years ago. But I'm like, hey man, are we good? Like, what's happening? He still hasn't even. Oh, he just looked. He might pop on. So maybe, I don't know. What are we, 3:30? I don't know if it's a time zone thing or what, but this might still be happening. So we'll see. He's typing, so we'll see what he says. Charles is on the 18th hole of the Memorial Opening. That's funny. Cardano just hit 50,000 DeFi. Crow, you around? Yes, brother, I'm around. Yes, I'm live. You okay? He's messaging me, so we'll see what's going on. Yes, mark this for Eastern. I'll join in just a moment. Leaving my ranch. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll hang out a little bit until Charles gets here. And I live in Eastern, so yes, mark this for Eastern. I got something in my tooth. Might be a sucker or something. All right, so he's coming. Sorry about the delay, but I figured I'd rather go live and just hang out with you guys than not do anything. I think he got hit by a bison on his ranch, and he's limping to his car right now to hurry back so that he can continue with this live interview. That's what I think happened to Charles. He just doesn't want to tell me. Either that or a falcon stole his hat. Crypto laws are great in Portugal. I know, and I'm aware there's a lot of really cool benefits to living in Portugal, and we originally thought about that before making the move to. Still waiting on Crow tokens. I don't know. I mean, I got them out to a whole bunch of people. Cost me a lot in Cardano to send all those too. You leaving PR? I've been in Florida for like almost 2 years now. We were only in Puerto Rico for 6 months. JJ is screening Charles DMs. Well, he's coming. He's on his way. Now when he does pop on, I'm hoping that his audio works. Now that I know mine works and everything, hopefully everything else does too. And I noticed that there are people trading those Crow tokens, like very, very small, but there's pooled Crow, 13 million, almost 13.5 million Crow tokens are on DEXs right now. Diluted market cap, 5,400,000 ADA is the current market cap of Crow tokens. I mean, I don't have anything to do with any of that, folks. I just sent them out. People are doing what they want, but there is a big announcement coming about how we're going to be doing a full fair launch. Basically, what's going to happen is I'm going to be just giving all of my Crow tokens to a protocol and let it all work out wherever it's going to work out. Whatever's going to happen. One ADA right now is worth 28,013 Crow tokens. Hey man, I mean that's crazy. That's crazy. Oh, okay. 477 people. Charles is coming. He is on his way. He's leaving his ranch. He's gonna. Oh, wait, I see Charles. What's happening? Charles is driving.
Just a second. Having some audio problems. Jason, can you hear me?
I hear you. Do you hear me okay?
There we go. Yes, now I can. Sorry about that. I kept trying to get the Bluetooth headset, and I didn't realize it was turned off on the phone. Sorry about this. I had this marked in my calendar for 3 p.m. because I mixed up EST with MST. I'm just leaving my ranch right now.
That's okay. We can hear him good. Okay, good. Everybody hears you. They hear me. That's wonderful. Now you're not going to get in an accident by doing this live right now, are you?
Oh no, I got a driver.
Oh, of course you do. What was I thinking? I didn't want you to hit a bison on the way home.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's all
Okay.
right. It's a beautiful location, though. I can show you guys the countryside
Oh,
out here
that's
in
cool.
Wyoming.
Where are you? Wyoming. Setting up a new crypto company in Wyoming.
No, I got a ranch up there outside of Wheatland. It's about 11,000 acres in the middle of damn nowhere, and I go up there from time to time and face Memorial Day week at the working.
Okay. Is that, do you have one ranch or do you have multiple ranches? Because I thought you had one.
I got a farm in Colorado, and I got a ranch in Wyoming. The farm's a lot smaller.
Okay. Well, I definitely. Ooh, it sounded like somebody was washing dishes for a minute, but it's cleared up.
All right,
Okay.
sorry about that. I'm almost to I-25, and so the internet should get a little bit better. But I'm sorry, I mistimed this. I missed and I didn't want to leave you hanging. So I could
Yeah.
either get to a. Go ahead.
Well, it's cool. I just assumed you either got run over by a bison somewhere or the falcon stole your hat and you're like chasing it down somewhere. I assumed you'd pop up eventually. I just didn't know when. So I just been live hanging out with everybody waiting on you, and I figured you'll see it eventually. So yeah, no, that's cool. I figure so I have a list of questions. I have a lot of things that I definitely want to address in this. Do you want to like what how do you prefer we do this? Would you rather wait until your internet's a little better, your audio's better? Do you want to just go for broke and start now? Like how do you see this going for you?
Well, the problem is it's going to probably be about an hour and a half before we get to a stable place, and so it'll be a little intermittent. But on the highway, it shouldn't be too bad. So let's just roll the dice, and if it doesn't work, then when I get to Cheyenne, I can scoop back in.
Okay, no problem at all. Let's just go for it. So I guess we'll start with the first question on my list here. And you know, typically we would do this in a more conversational way, but especially now, given the circumstances, I figure we'll just push through as a questionnaire. One of the biggest misconceptions about Hydra you've seen either myself or others make that you feel should be addressed publicly?
Well, I think there was this bizarre belief that people had that Hydra was going to be this magic technology that was the end all be all of scaling. And we never presented it that way. And we never said that Hydra was going to be this technology that suddenly we'd flip a switch and magically the network performs 1,000 times faster than everybody else. You know, Hydra enables you to take certain types of traffic like micropayments, voting, DEX transactions, these types of things, and run a lot of them off chain. And so it simulates running thousands of transactions off chain and batching them together and really reduces your cost and increases your throughput. So for certain things, let's like a tip application or a voting application or a DEX, it really can have a huge impact on your operating costs and finality and these types of things. But it's not a one-click thing that you drop in and you say suddenly Hydra's here and now we're faster than everybody else and the story's over. There's always a lot more to it, like the data availability side, the storage side. There's a lot of issues with complex transactions. There's a privacy consideration, and there's a cross-chain consideration. That's why we've all had all hands a solution for scaling Cardano. We have input endorsers. You know, we have a roll-up strategy. You know, we have a strategy for sidechains, and all of these together is what gets you that scale as a network end to end. And Hydra is a very important component because it can be integrated as middleware into dApps, and it's moving very quickly. But it's not the only component in the scaling story or solution. It's an important one, though.
Okay.
It's kind of like energy. It's like, you know, you have solar and you have wind and you have geothermal and nuclear and coal. It's like they all try to do the same thing, which is generate electricity. But you have to acknowledge that you can't just have one power type. You have to have a distributed grid with many different types of generation. So Hydra is part of the TPS story, as is extended UTXO, as is improvements to Plutus, you know, as is side chains, as is input endorsers, all of these things. And every time you bring something online, some things are big, like input endorsers. That's like the fusion. And other things are like community distributed stuff, and that's kind of like Hydra, where it's like solar. where, if you have that resource, you can put some panels on your roof. In other words, a dApp can integrate Hydra, and that generates, a little bit of electricity. In other words, it reduces their throughput requirements, but they have the same operating model, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's fair enough, because I think I'm one definitely that I've been kind of like Hydra. When Hydra comes, we're ready to take over the world, because for whatever reason, I did have kind of a belief that, a lot of things were going to change instantly. But ultimately, you're saying it's almost just like another platform that everyone's going to be building into.
Yeah, it's a dApp by dApp thing. So where and when you can integrate it, your operating cost of your dApp will go down tremendously, because what happens is that you are posting less transactions on chain, and more of your stuff is being done through a Hydra head. So if you required, a certain amount of resources, let's say 5 transactions per second, maybe now you're down to 0.5 transactions per second. So effectively, you've gotten a 10x in your operating cost and throughput, because you're running a lot of things off chain. And so this actually saves resource consumption for Cardano. So it is a humongous step forward where and when it works. Like, for example, all of Catalyst voting can probably be done with a Hydra channel. And so when you talk about a lot of the future governance things where there's millions of people voting and doing things, that makes sense to do off chain. Or let's say that you have an application and you're building like, Crypto Crow's Twitter, and you want to have a change tip capability where people, if they like your tweets or like your videos, they click a button to tip you 0.001 ADA. You can't really do that on a main chain because the cost would be quite prohibitive, but you could do that in a Hydra sense, and you could process every day millions to billions of tips. You see, and so that's just something specific to your application, but now your application is able to run on Cardano guarantees. So where and when it works, it's quite transformational. That's why I like the energy analogy. If you happen to live next to a volcano, you got a fuck ton of geothermal, and you're going to have unlimited energy. Look at Iceland, for example, where they can process aluminum and grow bananas and all these types of things. But if you don't live next to geothermal, you can't really do much with that energy modality. So if you have a type of application that would benefit from Hydra, you might win the lottery, and all of a sudden you're 100 times faster, your operating cost is substantially lower. But if you have a type of application that doesn't really use that transaction pattern, you're going to have to use a different scaling solution, like input endorsers or build a sidechain or use a roll-up or these types of things, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, no, it does. So what are some of the biggest positives? What are some of the big positive things about Hydra that people are missing or misunderstanding?
I think that probably one of the nicest parts is that Hydra is a good finality solution. So when things happen in a Hydra channel, they happen near instantly. So like when you're spending from your wallet, you're doing a transaction, if that's Hydra enabled, like what Load Wallet is trying to do or any of these other guys, it just settles. It's just one click and it's there. Another really cool thing is that the software is getting better, much faster, and it's already on mainnet, and it's an open source project. So as more people develop on it, it's almost like having a free piggyback collection of mini protocols that you can just come 2 years later and they're all substantially better. So this is like free infrastructure that's all open source that gets better over time, and it adds much more capabilities to the system. And eventually it will be able to do some really cool stuff with smart contracts and hopefully cross-chain bridging as well, especially when we talk about other networks, like bridging Cardano to Litecoin or Cardano to Bitcoin or Cardano to any other UTXO system or account-based system. So it's one of those things where if you look at one direction, you get super excited because you say, wow, this is a self-evolving technology that every dApp developer now has, like they have Marlowe or all this other stuff, and where and when it works, it's great for them. And the places where it works increase over time, and it's relatively cheap to develop this software. The Hydra team is quite small. It's only a few developers, and there's already in the open source meetings like 40, 50 people showing up regularly. And I think about 6 or 7 companies that are experimenting with Hydra heads and playing with it. The foundation's looking at it for Cardano Ballot. Obsidian is looking at it for Load Wallet. Meld is looking at it. You got Sunday Swap looking at it, and they're developing a piggyback protocol called Gummy Worm to enhance that. We've been looking at it for micropayments We've also been looking at head architecture and improvements to Plutus. So it's been just a phenomenal project. When you look at the history of it, relative to the resources that are put in, and that's the kind of stuff that gets me very excited. It's like a community-driven open source project of middleware that dApp developers can use to make their dApps faster, cheaper, and better, or wallet developers can use to add fast finality to their wallets and lower transaction fees in the wallets. Similar to how like Lightning gets integrated into Bitcoin wallets, if you're familiar with that.
Right. So one of our big things that we've been waiting on with Soblocks, because we've been building this Soblocks platform for a while, and we want to take it on chain, and some elements are, but not much. And we've been waiting for this whole microtransaction thing. And are you ultimately saying in a way that Hydra's utilization for microtransactions is more based off of like off-chain batch transactions that are ultimately loaded up into one that then go on chain? And so you're kind of dividing that one transaction fee amongst all of the batch transactions in that one allotment. Am I making proper? I'm not a developer, so I'm trying to make some sense of it.
No, that's the right intuition. Is basically you take a lot of events. So let's say you're playing a poker game. It would be really bad if your naive implementation of a poker game is that every time you play a hand, every time you shuffle, every time a player bets, that's a transaction on chain. Rather, what you'd want to have happen is that people lock their funds, they go and play the game off chain, but then the system has the ability to preserve the integrity of the game. So you know that there's no fake cards, you know that it's a fair shuffle, and also when you win or lose, when you go to withdraw your funds, that's reflected in that. So on chain, the only transactions that occurred are the initiation of the game, the matching of the people, and the entry and exit point. So that's just a few transactions potentially, and it could be a game that you play for hours, thousands of hands with dozens of people, like a tournament or something like that. So that huge amount of stuff gets batched together, and it basically becomes a single transaction for the game to finish and exit. So this model could be reused again and again for pretty much anything. Let's say you're playing like Warhammer, the digitized version of desktop Warhammer. There's a ton of events and logic that are happening here. Any video game is going to have this. And what you want to have happen is that it's a fair game. You get a guarantee that no one can cheat. You get a guarantee you're playing against, let's say, humans, these types of things. And you can run all of that logic in a Hydra head. And then you just have an entry and exit point for when people quit the game and leave for the state to reset. And that's the batch transaction that they pay for. And it's relatively lightweight, proportionate to all the things that can happen. So we're real excited about this for like introduction of NFT elements into games, microtransactions into games, tipping into games, and also just identities into games like DIDs, and try to run a lot of that stuff off chain. And they use Hydra basically to be that bridge that allows you to go off chain, on chain. Because a lot of cases, games are where I call them. Sorry, my just died. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you got a little max headroom on us for about 2 seconds.
I got you. Okay, what about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, sorry about that. My headset just died for some reason. I'm not sure what happened. But a lot of times with games, they're what we call Web 2.5. So basically, they're kind of like a cryptocurrency, but they're centralized components because you have the game developer, you have servers, you have all of these other things. And so what basically this allows you to do is to sort out the centralized parts from the decentralized parts, and it gives you a bridging mechanism to connect those two things. I think that's the other part of Hydra that's most exciting, is this idea that you have some connecting tissue to make it easier to connect a web client model, like what Diablo 4 is doing, or an MMORPG is doing, or these other things, to a crypto model, and they just kind of plug together in an easy way. So that's a direction I think people are going to push it, and there's a lot of people that are exploring building that middleware gaming frameworks, and Hydra gives you kind of the fast transaction component, the low cost transaction component to move assets around. Those assets can be ADA, Those assets can be your own stable coin you've issued. Those assets can be NFTs, et cetera, et cetera. I think a lot of NFT transactions will also occur in Hydra heads over time.
I've already learned a lot just about Hydra. This is awesome. Okay, so Marlowe, obviously, Marlowe coming out recently and making some waves. What will Marlowe ever integrate into artificial intelligence platforms like a Chat GPT? And how do you think that would transform Cardano's development and use case building in the future?
Yeah, we call that generative AI, and Microsoft is pioneering it, as is Amazon. Product, I forget the name of it, but that technology is going to grow exponentially in the next 12, 24 months as we get to the next generation model, Google Gemini, and we get to GPT-5, or if they want to call it 4.5 for political reasons. Regarding the acumen of those systems to develop code is going to grow exponentially. So it's not that they'll just be a decent programmer; they're going to be exponentially better at programming than most everyday developers. Well, the simpler the language is, and the more you're able to machine verify that the code behaves correctly, the easier it is to use generative AI to program. So it turns out that Marlowe is actually a perfect language for a AI agent, an LLM, like GPT or Bard, to actually generate code. And the reason being is that you can use SAT solvers in the prompt engineering and other things, and it's a Turing incomplete language, so it means you can verify every single execution trace. So assuming that the model doesn't run out of tokens, the model tokens are like these little instruction packets that get loaded into the LLM to allow it to think. Assuming that that space is large enough, it actually can verify the program deterministic end-to-end. Canvas with a normal programming language like Java or C++, or Solidity, or even Plutus. So it's really nice to have a Turing incomplete DSL like Marlowe, and I feel that that's going to be very transformative, because what happens is once you start connecting that to asset issuance and some light Plutus code, you can have it like a sparring partner. So you could sit as a non-technical person, some time in the future, like a year or 2 years, as this technology continues to grow, and you could say things like, hey, I really want to make a video game on Cardano, or I really want to do, XYZ on Cardano, and say, hey, write some code for me and do this thing, and let's test it. And you can go back and forth and play around with it. And basically, the GPT acts as the programmer. It's almost like you're talking to an artist, and they're drawing a picture for you. They keep showing you, intermediate forms of it. You say, oh, make the eyes a little bigger, make the nose a little sharper. Hey, let's give him black hair instead of blonde hair, or these types of things. That's what's going to basically happen. And it's going to be able to do that with languages like Marlowe. But the other cool part about Marlowe is it showed everybody in Cardano land basically how to design DSLs, domain-specific languages. And because that framework's there, it means more will come, like the Akins of the world, or potentially legal languages like open law that can be brought into the platform to basically handle contract rights, intellectual property, and these other things. So it's really exciting to bring this to bear, and we're definitely looking at it. I'm even going to an AI conference in Las Vegas in August to kind of meet with all the big guys in AI, and we're definitely tracking how do we integrate generative AI into our product portfolio. And Marlowe was one of the first that we identified we think would do really well with generative AI and LLMs, because it's such a simple language and it's kind of paint by numbers, if that makes sense.
Okay. Now, a lot of people think I'm kidding when I tell them I have two Maine Coons. My oldest is Cardano, and our newest one, who's now a year old, we named Midnight before you ever announced Midnight. So I have two cats, Cardano and Midnight. And so this question is about Midnight. How is Midnight coming along, and will SPOs be integrated with the token as an additional yield at some point? And how will IOG navigate launching the Dust token for Midnight in this environment?
So Midnight is kind of the leader in the sidechain builder framework. And so there's two teams. There's the sidechains team and the Midnight team. They're technically independent, but they're jointly working together on a project. It's kind of like when
IBM and Boeing work with NASA to go get it or something like that. So what the sidechains team is doing is they're constructing a sidechains framework so that anybody who wants to build sidechains for Cardano, it's very easy to do. Systems like Cosmos or for Polkadot, Cosmos has a framework, Polkadot has parity substrate, and basically Cardano is going to get a framework like that. And there's a technology to make these really work with Cardano. And some really like multi-resource consensus. It's very fast and support.
I think we're losing Charles. I think he might come back here in just a minute. We'll give him a few minutes.
Can you guys see me? Can you guys hear me?
There you are. Yep, you're back now.
All right.
I think you're out the whole time you were answering the question.
Oh, shit. All right, let me start from the beginning. So, Cosmos and Polkadot, they have chain builder frameworks. And what we're doing is there's a sidechain in Cardano building a sidechain work. And anybody who wants to build a sidechain, let's say for a video game or for World Mobile, for telco, or for Midnight, that's the framework that they're going to build on top of. And there's a lot of really cool technologies that we're bringing into that. Now, Midnight is kind of the first major customer. And so that's an independent development team, and they're meaning it's a different leadership structure. I run both, but they're different developers, different engineers, and they're building on top of that same sidechain framework to bring Midnight, launch it to the Cardano ecosystem. Now, what will happen is at a later date, we'll kind of discuss a bit about the tokenomics and how that distribution works. But in general, on the sidechain side, what we want to accomplish is that people pay their transaction fees, and they pay they pay inflation, I should say, the maintenance of their sidechain to the ADA holders through the state. Will maintain the state.
Yeah, we're losing Charles again.
Words.
Hey, Charles, it's not. I really appreciate you coming on, but it's almost impossible, brother. The connection that you have is just really bad. You're able to make out, every couple words.
All right.
Want to do? Do you want to do this a time when you're back home? You want to maybe do something like this next week or this coming week? Maybe would that be okay?
How long are you going to be on? Because I can get to Cheyenne here in about how long? Yeah, I'll be in Cheyenne in about 35 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you want to, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to just, I could go and kind of hang out with everybody until you clear up and you can pop back in, or we can reconnect? And we lost him. I knew that was coming. I could just see it. I just feel like it's better. I want to get every word, I want to make sure that everybody, including myself, because these interviews are for me too. I'm asking a lot of questions of my own personal interest. So I want to make sure that I'm hearing everything. And I you get somebody like Charles on, and well, you want the interview to be okay. Let's do next week. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just think that's best. Okay, perfect. So listen, I mean, there's obviously a lot to be learned just in this segment. I'm grateful that he popped on. I just think that, it's better that we're able to do something like this in a very clear environment where, every word is heard. So 528 of you live right now. It's almost an hour. And, listen, I mean, we got some really good questions in. We got some great answers. Definitely puts Hydra into better perspective for me personally, hopefully you as well. And yeah, we'll do this next week when I'll create a much bigger list of questions and things. And now that we understand how the time zones are different, I'm sure we'll be able to hit this and hit the ground running. So listen, I'll leave it at that. Listen, enjoy your weekend, folks. I thank you for joining me. And make sure you check out murderofcrows.io. Grab your NFTs for fun and giggles, just because you like the art. Until next time, guys, crow your coins, and I'll leave you out with this outro of my favorite song.
If it's below bear, I I don't care. It's quite a rough ride, just like life. But I'm kind of patient, 'cause only time will tell. It's gonna go up, so you better stay calm. And grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins. Grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins. Grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins. Grow your coins, grow your coins. Grow your coins, you gotta grow your coins.